Hello everybody. In this Excel tutorial, we're going to go over one way that you can create a stem and leaf plot. Let's go ahead and jump right in. Here we have a data set of numbers, and these are the numbers we want to use to create our stem and leaf plot. The first thing we want to do is find the stems. And one way to find the stems is to use floor.math. And for the first argument, let's put in our number. And in this case, we're going to divide it by 10. Now, let's drag that formula down. So for this set of numbers, the stem is going to be the number on the left. So for example, here that would be 0, 1, 1, 2, 2, 2, all the way down to 5. Okay, so now we have our stems. Next, we need to create our leaves. In order to do that, we're going to use value. And we are using value so that we can easily take our data set once we're finished and put it into a pivot table. Now let's use the right function. And the text that the right function will evaluate is here, comma, and we want to extract one value from the right. Let's drag it down. Okay, so you can see for this set of numbers, the leaves would be the number on the right, which would be 2, 0, 4, 2, all the way down to 4, 5. Okay, so now we have our stems and our leaves. The next thing we need to do is to create some numbers in this column that will show how to distribute the leaves for the stems. Okay, so we're going to use COUNTIF. For the range, we want stem rows. Let's go ahead and lock that or anchor it, colon, stem rows again. So what will happen here is that this range will be anchored here, and the range will grow as we drag the formula down. And the criteria will be each number in this column. Okay, let's drag it down. So let's go over how this is working. Notice that for each tens place for the numbers, we're getting a count. So for the 2, there's 1. For the 10s, you can see it counts 1 and 2. For the 20s, you can see we get counts 1 through 4. For the 30s, you can see we get counts 1 through 7, and so on. Now, let's create our stem and leaf plot using a pivot table. Let's go to Insert, Pivot Table. Let's put this in the existing worksheet here. Now, let's drag the stem rows to the rows. Let's drag the leaf values to the values. And let's drag the column locations to the columns. For our pivot table, let's go to Design, and let's remove the totals. Let's make the text a little bit bigger. Go to Design again, and let's choose this style here, okay? Let's resize it, and you can see we have our stem and leaf plot. Now, in order to check this, let's use the R programming language. We're using RStudio, and R has a really cool function called stem, where you can take your numbers and plug them in and get a basic stem and leaf plot. So let's go ahead and select this and run it, and then let's compare it. Okay, so for the zeros place, you can see we get 0, 2, which matches what we get with R. For the tens place, we have a 10 and a 14. That matches as well. For the 20s place, we have 22, 22, 25, and 29. That looks good. Now if we continue to check for the 30s place, the 40s place, and the 50s place, you'll notice that our Excel stem and leaf plot is identical to the stem and leaf plot created by R. Okay, so it looks like it's working. Now, one question you might have is if this works with all types of numbers. And the answer is yes. In general, This format should work for all types of numbers. However, you may need to change the formulas just a little bit. So let's go over 2 more examples. So, what if you are dealing with decimals? Here we have a set of decimal numbers. Now basically, we've set this up the same as we did in our previous example. However, in this case, we had to alter our formulas just a little bit. So you'll notice here in our first example, we divided by 10. For the decimals in this example, we divided by 1. In our first example here, we used the value function and the right function. In this case, to get just the decimals, we use A2 minus truncate A2, which takes the full number minus the truncated part of the number, leaving us with just the decimal part. Then, for the column location, which you see across here, the COUNTIF formula stays the same. So when we created our pivot table, this is the stem and leaf plot that we got for the decimals. Once again, let's go ahead and double check this. So here we have our decimal numbers, and here we have the stem function. Let's run it, and let's do a comparison. Now one difference you'll notice here we have our whole number parts, and here we have the decimal number parts. For the R version, it is rounding the numbers, okay? So here we have 21.43. For the R version, it's 21.4. Here we have 21.56. For the R version, it's rounding up to 21.6. And here we have 21.8, and that remains the same. So if you continue doing the comparisons, you'll notice that they all match. However, in the R version, they have been rounded. Okay, let's go over one more example, and in this case, you might wonder how you would do this with large numbers. So here we have our numbers, and here are the changes we made to the formulas. So for the floor, the main difference is we divided by 1,000. Okay? So for the stem, we have the thousands place. For the leaves, using the value and right function, we extracted 3 places. Okay? And the COUNTIF remains the same. So one more time, let's go ahead and compare this to our R stem function. Here we have our large numbers and our stem function. Let's run it. Now just like with the decimals, the R version is going to round. So you get a little bit more detail with the Excel version. So for the stems, you'll notice here we have 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Same thing with the R stem and leaf. Now here we have 4,934. For the R version, it has been rounded. So we have 4,900. For the 5,000s place, we have 5,111. And for the R version, it's 5,100 rounded. Here we have 5,701. And the R version is just 5,700. Okay? Now, let's show one more cool thing that you can do, because you'll notice that in the definition from Wikipedia, it mentions that a stem and leaf plot is similar to a histogram. If you want to make this look kind of like a histogram, go ahead and select the data, go up to Format, Conditional Formatting, click the plus. For the style, choose Classic. Click this drop down here and choose Format Only Cells That Contain. And we want no blanks. And this will give us a red fill. Okay? And click OK. So you notice that this is kind of like a histogram on its side, which ultimately shows us the shape of the distribution. Okay, let's choose our stem rows and our column location. Now, let's go to Insert, and we want to insert a scatter plot. Let's choose our Y-axis. right-click, choose Select Data, then go to Edit. And what we want to do here is to swap our X values with our Y values. So where there is C, we want to put an E. And where there is an E, we want to put C. Let's go ahead and click OK and OK. Now let's go back to our Y-axis, Format Axis, Values in Reverse Order. Then for the X-axis, let's go ahead and select that and delete it. Let's go back to our Y-axis and select it and make sure we're on Format Axis. Then go to the icon that looks like a bar chart, Axis Options. And let's change our bounds maximum to 5. And then the units major to 1. Now let's make our font just a little bit bigger. Next, let's select the dots of our scatter plot, and we want to go to Add Data Labels. Now let's go ahead and select those data labels. Then we're going to go to Format Data Labels, click on the icon that looks like the bar chart, and select Value from Cells. And this is where we are going to put in the leaf values. And make sure you do not select the header with the values. Now we can unselect the Y value and the Show Leader Lines. Now, let's go back and select the dots from our scatter plot. Format Data Series. Then select the Fill Paint Can. And then select the marker. For the fill, we want no fill, and for the border, we want no line. And that will get rid of those scatterplot dots, leaving us just with the values for the stem and leaf plot. Now, let's go ahead and select the axis grid lines. And we want no line. We'll do that for both the X and the Y axis to get rid of those axis grid lines. Let's go ahead and give our stem and leaf plot a title. And we have finished our stem and leaf plot. That's all we have for this tutorial. Join us again next time.